Yo, what's up guys? Bobby here. Before we start the video, I just wanted to say this is going to be the most difficult tier list that I've probably ever done. Not just is it a new meta with 6 new hypercharges, but the entire game balance just totally changed with this gadget change. So I'm going to make this tier list. It's still very early on in the meta. A lot of things are subject to change. So I'm also going to make one in another couple weeks or maybe about a month. That'll probably be a little bit more accurate. But with that being said, let's get into it and let's see what I can cook. Now, I know you guys aren't a huge fan of the S+, but I do honestly really like having that in here because it just shows what the absolute best brawlers in the game is. And I think that's a lot better than having an F tier because who cares what the absolute worst is? Let's cover what the absolute best is. All right, so starting off with Shelly, not too much has changed. Shelly's going to remain in the C tier. She's really only that good in Brawl Ball. Nowhere else is she really ever that good. I know most new players have her as one of their highest or their highest brawlers, but she just isn't that good once you move up. And she's going to be C tier for me. Next up, we have Nita. And Nita has been a fairly good brawler for a pretty long time. Again, not too much has changed with Nita in terms of this whole gadget change and everything. She's still very solid in Heist, very solid in Brawl Ball, very solid in Gem Grab. You can't really make her work on long-range maps, but she is a very viable tank counter and is good basically everywhere there's bushes. Next up, we got Cole, and it's the same thing for Cole. Not too much has changed. He's going to be in the C tier where he was in the last tier list because he's only really good in Heist. Kind of decent in Brawl Ball if you're good with Colt, but not anywhere else, so he's going to remain in the C tier. Next up, we have Bull, and Bull, I think, is the first brawler on our list that really actually got affected by the gadget change. His Stomper is only 14 seconds, so for those of you who play Bull, you understand that Bull is a lot better when Stomper is available versus when you run out. The super is a little bit clunky, which makes him usually only good in Heist, maybe a tiny bit good in Brawl Ball. But now Bull can kind of be played in Gem Grab, Brawl Ball, Heist. I would say Hot Zone is definitely pushing it, but Bull can actually be played as like a normal brawler. Think of Bull kind of like Carl now, where you go in with the flying hook and you super. It's kind of the opposite where you super and then you stop it with your Stomper. But because he's able to do that basically an unlimited amount of times now, he's going to move up and get into the B tier. And I would honestly try him out if you guys sometimes play Bull, because this change is pretty big and pretty awesome for Bull. And next up, we have Brock, and Brock is honestly more of the same. I think the gadget change very much benefited Brock. Brock was already in our B tier. In competitive, he was like A or S. He's one of the better control brawlers, but in normal play, I would say he was B tier before. Now, because his rocket fuel, again, it's only 15 seconds for the gadget, which I feel like is a bit too little for him. You can spam wall break a map. You could turn basically any map into like Backyard Bowl or something. So we're going to move Brock up to the A tier because he's very playable in Knockout. He's very playable in Bounty, obviously. And now you can kind of make most maps just a wide open map with his super and gadgets. So we're going to give him A tier for sure. Very much benefited by the gadget change. Then we got Primo. Primo did not gain any aura from this gadget change whatsoever. He's going to be stuck in the C tier, only really good at Brawl Ball. And if you're playing him outside of Brawl Ball, you probably should just, I don't know, let it go. Next up, we have Barley. And again, really weird spot for Barley because his Herbal Tonic is one of the highest gadgets in terms of how long it takes for that gadget to actually come back. It takes 17 whole seconds if you don't have the gear that shortens it. And that seems like a long time, but honestly, that's 4 Barley gadgets in a minute and like 15 seconds. Not even. I don't know the exact math off the top of my head. I think it's a minute 8 seconds exactly. But regardless of that, like the fact that you can get like 7 heals in a game that could heal you for 2,800, your teammate for 2,800, and your other teammate for 2,800 is honestly kind of insane. It's way too low. Honestly, this gadget should have like 25 seconds or 26 seconds. Like the fact that it's this low is honestly insane. And we're going to put him into the S tier because unless you're facing a hard counter like a Barley or a Mortis or a Edgar, like that healing is just so insane on Heist, on Brawl Ball even, and especially on Hot Zone. It's absolutely unreal. Now, honestly, I know I'm going to get a lot of trash for this one, and you guys are just going to have to let me explain this before you react. I really want to put Poco in the S tier. Like, if this was purely my opinion on the best brawlers in the game, I promise you I would put Poco S tier. But for the sake of you guys not raging at me, I'm going to put Poco in the A tier. Poco is so strong right now. The Protective Tunes gadget, which is not the normal gadget, but the gadget that takes away any like stun or burn or freeze that you may have is so broken, particularly in draft. There are so many brawlers that are so strong right now, like Lou, like Amber, like Ollie, like Frank, who have stuns or anything of the sort, and you can just completely wipe them away by taking Poco and going protective tombs. Now, if you're just playing trophies and you're not playing in some type of draft format, Poco's not as good, because if you don't have good matchups with Poco, you're obviously not doing all that. But if you're making really good brawlers completely useless with this gadget, it is so good and so strong. So I'm going to give Poco A tier. I think he very much benefited from this gadget change. Again, this is mostly based off like draft. So if you were in draft, I think Poco's a lot better than blind pick, but definitely A tier for Poco. Rosa as well, someone that benefited from the gadget change. I'm going to put Rosa up to the B tier. Before, she was either C or D tier, which I feel bad. I really do like playing Rosa, but the fact that she gets that bush growing gadget every 10 seconds is unreal. If you're not facing something that has a wall break or some type of grass burn, Rosa is very, very strong with that gadget. And if you're facing an Amber, you could just go the other gadget that slows them when they're in bushes. It's also very strong. And Rosa's hypercharge is also insane. So, I mean, Rosa's kind of got something going for her right now, which is good because it's been a while since we've had that. And hopefully it continues. Next up, we got Jessie. Connor, sorry, not much has changed. Jessie is going to stay in the C tier. I understand she's very, very, very strong at low trophies and low rank, because no one dodges the bounces, everyone stays together. But in a real Brawl Stars match, like a genuine, real Brawl Stars match, Jessie is not actually that good at all. Her shot is very easy to juke, and it's very difficult, honestly, to get a hyper before the game ends unless you're facing tanks or something. So Jessie is going to be C tier for me. Dina took a little bit of a hit here with the gadget change. His stun gadget satchel charge has a 23-second cooldown, which is pretty crazy, to be honest. I don't know if I want to give Dina C tier, because if you get a free matchup with Dina, you're still going to probably win no matter what, unless you're just really bad at Dina. So I'm going to keep him in the B tier, but this is definitely a nerf, like a very strong nerf. There are a lot of Dina games where if you have a free matchup, you can win it in like 30 seconds, especially on Heist. You hit a couple stuns, you hit a couple supers, game is basically over once you get that hypercharge and rain that damage all over the save. Now, it's not really like that. You got to hit more shots. The stun isn't just absolutely carrying you because you get it once every like 23 seconds. So definitely a nerf for Dina, but we're going to keep him in the B tier. Next up, we got Tick. Not much has changed for Tick. He's also going to stay in the B tier. He's just kind of a mid brawler. Doesn't have anything crazy going on for him. Gadget change didn't really do anything for him. He's going to stay there. Then we got 8-Bit. 8-Bit is a very, very, very strong brawler right now. He's going to slide into the A tier. The fact that he does a lot of damage is very important right now. Especially before the gadget change, 8-Bit was very strong at taking out like Dracos or Pocos or Maxes, just stuff that runs you down in your face. And it's just like, what do you even do if 8-Bit's in a big turret just absolutely clipping you? Now, I'm interested to see if 8-Bit's going to fall off, because I don't think it's as much of a run it down meta as it was in the previous meta. We're going to have to see, but I'm going to keep him in the A tier for now. Next, we got Rico. Rico's an interesting one because he's just so map dependent. Like, some maps he's so strong, some maps he's completely useless. It really just matters what map it is. I think he fell off a little bit with the gadget change, so we're going to keep him in the A tier instead of the S tier that he was in previously. Again, it just kind of matters on the map more than the mode. So if there's a lot of walls, a lot of bounces, Rico's going to work. If not, Rico's not going to work. It's basically as simple as that. Then we got Daryl. Daryl, again, is going to be another A-tier brawler. I don't know. It's just an interesting meta for tanks. I think tanks did fall off a little bit unless you're playing it with like a Barry or a Poco or a Max. I think Daryl's still good. It's just, I don't think he's as good as he was. He's very good in Brawl Ball, though. Very good in Heist. He's even very good in Gem Grab, so definitely worth that A tier, but I'm going to keep him in the A tier, not the S tier for now. And honestly, before I move on with this list, I'm going to change Brock to the S tier. Just looking at these other brawlers in A tier, Brock is definitely better. Brock was already in that same tier as these brawlers, I think, before the update. And now the gadget change happened. It didn't really help any of these brawlers here besides Poco, who moved up. Definitely did help Brock, though. So Brock's going to get into that S tier for sure. Then we got Penny. Penny is a very good, well-rounded brawler. Penny's going to definitely be up in that S tier as well. Just very good at holding it down. Not the best versus tanks, not the best versus snipers. But the thing with Penny is you can always hold a fight. Like, you can do damage to a tank with the Penny Splash. You can body block shots with your barrel into sniper. So Penny always can find a way to do something, and that's what I love the most about Penny. The turret's insane. The hypercharge obviously is even more insane. So definitely S tier for Penny. Then we got Carl. Now, Carl had a very interesting change, and he's going to be very difficult to rank. So Carl, both his gadgets are kind of interesting. A lot of people have started using the fire gadget, which does a ton of damage. I think it's almost 3,000 damage. If not, it is 3,000 damage, plus the shot that you actually hit on top of that. So if you hit a full shot, you're basically doing 4.5 thousand damage. It could be more. You like very easily could one-shot some of the brawlers in the game. His flying hook has a very high cooldown of 19 seconds, but if you have a free matchup with Carl, you're still getting 3 flying hooks in 57 seconds, and no games usually end under 57 seconds. So you're probably still getting your value out of the flying hook gadget if it's a free Carl game. On top of that, he has a hypercharge. I don't love his hypercharge, to be honest. I didn't make a video about it because I was not home. I don't know. I don't love it. I'm going to put him in the B tier for now, but like the top of the B tier. He's going to be very hard to rank. I think he was C tier before this, so this is an upgrade for him. He could be A tier. I'm not sure. It's just going to take a little bit of time, as I said earlier, for us to like really figure out the meta here. Next up, we have Jackie, and Jackie actually did get a little bit better. So before, Jackie was D tier. And I'm going to have to completely admit, I haven't played a single game of Jackie since the bounce came out. But what I will say is a lot of people have said that the speed boost Jackie is very strong right now, because there are some gadgets that when you click it, they instantly start working and the cooldown starts happening. So for example, with Jackie, you click the speed, the clock starts ticking 15, 14, 13. Like it starts going down from the amount of time you can have her next gadget. But while that clock is going down, her gadget is still working. So there are very few brawlers like that. Jackie's one of them. So although it's 15 seconds, it's more like 12 seconds or 11 seconds. And if you're always just running around very fast with Jackie, she becomes a lot better, to be honest. So I'm going to give her high C tier for now. Again, she could be higher. I'm going to be fair. I haven't played a game with her yet. So I could be messing this one up and she could be better. I could also be messing this one up and everyone's just telling me cap and she's lower. But C tier for now, maybe even B or A tier. Next up, we have Gus. Gus's Cookie Popper is a very strong gadget, and I actually think Gus got a little bit better here, because when you're playing Gus, it's either in Bounty, Knockout, or as like a gem grab mid, so the games are never short. The gadget is very good and has a 16-second cooldown, so you're using 3 gadgets in 48 seconds, and no Gus game is shorter than 48 seconds. So you're always getting more gadgets than what you previously had, and nothing else changed for Gus. So it's definitely a buff to Gus. Definitely S tier, and I do really like where Gus is at right now. I was a little bit of a Gus hater a little bit ago, but I'm gone with it. Gus is a good brawler. I understand. Then we got Bo. Bo's actually a little bit better. Like, Bo's pretty well-rounded now. The Bo mines are so annoying. I can't believe that Bo's back in the meta. He's like just a calm little B tier, average brawler. The only thing that kind of weighs him down is the fact that if you're playing like Carl or Mortis or just any type of brawler that's an assassin, Bo really doesn't have the biggest outplay. Like, he doesn't have a dash. He's not fast. He doesn't have a stun. The only thing he really has going for him is if you hit all of his shots, you're doing like 3,000 damage. So, I mean, he does have high damage per second, but he's not really the greatest at facing assassins. Besides that, he's a very well-rounded brawler and definitely in the B tier. Then we got Ems. Ems I honestly want to put into the D tier, but I'm going to let her slide and put her in the bottom of the C tier. Pretty good brawler on Brawl Ball. That's about it. I saw with Finks you can like one-shot a safe, but like, is that ever actually happening? Probably not. So C tier for Ems, probably D tier, but I'm going to cut her some slack. Next up, we got Stu, and Stu is S+. Like, Stu has been up there for a long time. As like, the hypercharge did get a little bit of a nerf. Like, not the hypercharge itself, but how fast it actually takes to get the hypercharge. But he's still probably a top 5 brawler in the game. The speed zone gadget is still broken because it is a 20-second cooldown, but you put it down and it could last that whole 20 seconds. I don't know if it actually could last the whole 20 seconds, but if it doesn't, it's damn near close to that, and you could just get it back. Like, while that speed is being used, your charger is, you know, recharging. So Stu's still really good. Did not get affected at all by this gadget change, and is definitely an S+ tier brawler. Then we got Piper. I'm surprised Piper's gadgets are only 18 seconds. They've been like really nerfing Piper when I don't think she necessarily deserves it. I know a lot of people think Piper is like the best sniper in Knockout or Bounty. It's not true though. Nani is better. Angelo is better. Mandy now is better. I actually think Piper's not that good anymore, so I'm just going to put her in the A tier. Like, I think she's okay because you can play her as a gem grab mid and you can play her in every single open map. But honestly, she feels kind of mid now, and I'm only giving her A tier because she's pretty flexible and really good in those other 2 modes. Then we got Pam. Pam for now is going to be a D tier brawler. Like, there's just nothing good about Pam at the moment. We are waiting for that hypercharge to come out. I want to give Mama Pam some love. I mean, I love playing Pam, to be honest, but I don't know. Definitely a D tier brawler for me. I'm not the biggest fan of Pam. Then we got Frank. Frank honestly feels really good in this meta because the meta does feel a little bit squishier, and Frank does really good into a squishier meta because it's very difficult to kill him unless you have anti-tank or another tank. So he's going to move back up to S tier. I don't know if he was S tier or A tier in my last tier list, but S tier definitely feels like a good spot for him. He's very good in hot zone and brawl ball, like very, very good in hot zone and brawl ball. Gem grab and heist, he's playable. I wouldn't necessarily recommend it. And then knockout and bounty, obviously, just absolutely not. Like, do not play Frank there. Then we got BB. BB is going to be our second D tier brawler. Like, she just needs something to go for her. The gadget change, I think, did help her, but she just doesn't have enough, like, mobility or access to get to the opponent's brawlers. And if they have anything like a Surge or a Stu or a Nita or just basically any anti-tank in the game that doesn't suck, like Ems, for example, then you basically just lose and charge supers the entire game. I'm not a big fan of her. Next up, we got B, and B, I'm not trying to make a joke, has been in my B tier for a really, really, really long time. Now that she's a hyper, I'm going to move her up to my A tier. She's one of the better anti-tanks in the game now. She has that range, obviously, which is really good. So if you're facing like a Lou, for example, or a Nita, you can go something like Stu to counter, but B is a much more effective counter now, especially since you have that hypercharge that's basically impossible to miss. I know it doesn't feel that dramatic, it's just a little bit of a slow, but that little slow allows you to auto aim and hit all your shots with B, which is at least 2 shots, which is at least 5,000 damage. So you do the math, that basically kills anybody, as well as the fact that that rattled hive gadget is just absolutely ridiculous. So A tier for B, maybe she even sneaks up to the S tier, but I'm pretty happy with where she's at right now. Now, I know I said Nani is a better sniper and knockout and bounty than Piper, which is true. Like, I don't think anyone could really defend that. Like, in a 1v1, who wins, Piper or Nani? But at the same time, Nani is not as well-rounded as Piper is, so Nani is going to go into the B tier. Nani is very, very good in bounty and knockout. Basically, only play Nani there, and you should be able to gain really easily. But if you play Nani anywhere else, you're probably cooked. So just stay within those 2 modes, use the return to sender gadget, be annoying, and you're probably going to win a large majority of your games in those modes. Next up, we have Edgar, and Edgar's going to be in the C tier. He just doesn't feel as good as he once was with that new hypercharge. And I don't really know what they got to do to fix him. I'm honestly pretty happy he's in the C tier. He's a pretty annoying brawler to face, but he's going to stay there for now. Then we got Griff. Griff feels pretty good right now. I'm going to put Griff into the A tier. He could be a B tier, like bottom of A, top of B, but I'm going to slide him into the A tier for now. He works really well in this meta alongside brawlers like B or Gus or Poco or Brock or Stu, where you kind of just open the map and you chip them down and you do damage and you just beat them on an open map. Now, obviously, if you're playing with a Frank on your team or a Penny or a Nita, just brawlers that are good with bushes, you don't want to pair them with Griffs, but Griff is definitely a win condition with a lot of these brawlers on a lot of different maps. So we do like the Griff a lot right now. Now, Grom, I've heard your complaints, and I still don't think he's the best, but I'm going to give him B tier for now, especially since he has a hypercharge coming out. He's good in knockout. He's good in bounty. Again, I think Sprout's better in those modes. I think Tick is slightly better in those modes. I know Juju's better in those modes. And you can't really play Grom on any other mode besides Heist if you have a free matchup. So, I mean, I'm not fully hating on Grom, but he's definitely very bottom of the B tier. Like I said, he's good in bounty. He's good in knockout, specifically because of that Grom bomb. At higher levels, people know how to dodge it, so it's a little bit difficult at high level, but I mean, Grom has a place in this meta for sure, so I'll give him B tier. Then we got Gale. Ever since Gale's hyper fell off, he's just kind of mid, so I'm going to put him in the C tier. There's just better anti-tanks. If you look at my list right now, there's honestly not a lot of anti-tanks here. Most of them are the higher rarity, but like Griff is way better as an anti-tank right now. B is way better. Nita's way better. Honestly, not the best examples on my list right now because most of them, like I said, are lower down here. Wow, there's still a lot of brawlers left on my tier list. But his hyper is good. His jump pad is like sometimes useful. And besides that, Gale just kind of sucks. Then we got Colette. Colette is one of the best brawlers in Heist. Easy A tier for me. Very good anti-tank. Very good hypercharge. Very good Heist brawler. Can be used in Heist, Gem Grab, Hot Zone, and Brawl Ball, definitely the best in Heist, but if you have good matchups with Colette, you're going to do crazy work on any map, so 100% A tier. Belle feels like she's kind of back a little bit, so I'm also going to put Belle in the A tier. With these other long-ish range brawlers becoming better, like Brock, like Penny, like Poco, like B, like Griff, like 8-Bit, Belle is finding her place in the meta, and this is a classic example of a brawler not changing, but the meta around the brawler changing, which makes the brawler better. Like, that's just how it is sometimes. That's just how Brawl works. That's how the meta works, and that's how Belle is going to work for this current patch. Belle is pretty good basically anywhere. Like, there's not one mode I can think of in my head that Belle isn't good, but there's not one mode I can think of in my head where Belle is a top 10 brawler. So it's crazy how Belle works like that. She's kind of just like good everywhere, which is why I'm going to give her A tier. She's like A tier in every mode. So A tier deserved for Belle, and let's move on. Then we have Ashe. Ashe is easily going to be an S tier brawler. Best tank in the game right now, 100%. Every single pro would agree with that. So not too much to talk about with Ashe. Very good on gem grab, very good on brawl ball, not that good anywhere else. Just stick to those modes with Ashe. The hyper is insane, the shot is insane, everything about Ashe is insane. Love to see that. S tier for sure. Then we got Lola. Lola's kind of like an easier to play Colt, so we're going to put Lola one spot above the Colt, but Lola just doesn't do enough damage right now. Lola's a pretty mediocre brawler. I do think when she gets a hypercharge, though, she's going to become an A or at least B tier brawler. But at least for now, she's one of the few brawlers in the game without a hyper, so it does make sense that she's going to be C tier. I do expect her to get better soon, though. And now we have Sam, and Sam's going to be C tier as well, but like we know when that hypercharge comes into the game, Sam's going to be a lot better. So let's just hold our horses on Sam. He's C tier for now. He's going to be better soon. We're going to keep him there for now, but like definitely a B or A tier brawler very shortly. Good on Heist, good on Gem Grab, good on Brawl Ball, good on Hot Zone, but only if you're good with Sam and only into a free matchup. If you're facing some brawlers like a B on an open map as a Sam, like it's just impossible to win. So, I mean, C tier for sure for now, but I expect Sam to get a lot better. Next up, we have Mandy. Mandy is going to be an A tier brawler for me, high A tier. The hypercharge maybe boosted her to S tier. It's not the craziest hypercharge. Like, yeah, there's going to be some cool moments where you kill all three players, but at the same time, there's a lot of times you're just not going to hit anybody. It's the hyper's kind of weird. Like, it's stretched in a way to where the shots aren't that close to each other, so it's like jukeable. Thank God the shots aren't close to each other, because then you just have to shoot in like the general distance or the general area, I mean, of a player, and you're going to hit them no matter what, and it would be way too broken. The spread the shots have on each other is very good, but it makes it so that sometimes it's just kind of useless. Like, if you're trying to hit the middle shot, then the right and the left are not going to be remotely close to who you're trying to hit. So it's kind of just all luck. A tier for now, though. Definitely a decent hyper, just not as crazy, I think, as some people are making it out to seem. Next up, we have Macy. Spend. Let it go, man. Let it go. Macy is definitely an S tier brawler. I understand. I lost with Macy in monthly finals. I know there's going to be at least one comment that's going to say that, but it happens. Macy's S tier. She's still a very good brawler. One of the most explosive anti-tanks. That's what I don't think Spen understands. And I'm speaking Spen directly to you. I'm pretending no one is here. It's just me and you, Spen. When there's a tank on your screen, you don't need all three of your teammates to be an anti-tank. You need some that play control and some that play anti-tank. And if you want an anti-tank, the best is Lou. The second best is Macy. B is on that list. You know, Nita could be on that list. Surge can be on that list. But number 2 in that spot is going to be Macy for now. So she's going to be S tier. Very good in Brawl Ball. Very good in Gem Grab. Very good in Hot Zone. Mid in Heist. But if you need a defender, Macy could work. But S tier for now. Fish. 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 I can't believe what happened to Hank. So let me just start this off by saying I don't understand how a hypercharge can make Hank go from D tier possibly to S plus or S tier. But let me say that is exactly what happened. Now, I think Fish is slightly overrated right now. Fish is unstoppable in open maps. So if you're playing like open zone, which is coming back into the game or is already in the game, I'm not sure. If you're playing any open gem grab map, any open hot zone map, any open brawl ball map, Hank is probably going to be the best brawler on the map, which is the most insane thing I think I've ever said. But it's true. As long as you have one brawler to support, such as a Poco, a Byron, a Barry, a Max. Hank is just unstoppable. The shot is just too big and does too much damage. The hyper is just too good on the open map. The fact that Hank heals from his super is pretty insane now that he's actually a good brawler. And the fact that you basically have unlimited shields is also nuts. Now, Hank isn't that good on closed maps such as like double swoosh or sneaky fields, for example. So that's going to be his downfall. He's going to be S tier because of that. But I swear, if this was an open map tier list, Hank would be #1 ahead of Stu S+ tier, which is absolutely insane. Like the fact that you look at these brawlers right now. My top brawlers are Stu, Barley, Brock, Ash, Macy, Penny, Frank, Gus. Brawlers that have been good for so long, and now the fish. It's just absolutely insane. But Hank is going to be S tier for now. Spen, you finally got what you wanted. Next up, we have Pearl. Pearl feels kind of mid right now, but Pearl is decent on Hot Zone, Gem Grab, Bounty, and Knockout. So we're going to give Pearl the mid spot in B. I think it's deserved. I don't have too much to talk about Pearl. She's been the same for a while, so we're just going to kind of skip over her a little bit. Then we got Larry. It feels like Larry's low-key finally fallen off a little bit. I think Juju kind of took Larry's spot in the meta. And there's a lot of other brawlers that you guys are going to see coming up that kind of have the same role as like a thrower / like control, shoot over walls type brawler. So I'm going to move Larry to the top of my B tier. Before I would say S or A. I think this is the lowest Larry's literally ever been since Larry's release. So I guess I'm kind of happy about that, but B tier for now for Larry. Then we got Angelo. Angelo is going to be top of S tier brawler for me. I mean, that just makes total sense. It's Angelo. Angelo's the best sniper in the game right now. So top of S for me. Then we have Barry. Barry is also going to be an S tier brawler. Like, I don't know if any of you guys watched the monthly finals, but Barry basically won every single set in every single region, even into the craziest matchups. So something definitely has to be done about Barry. Barry definitely needs some type of nerf. But Barry's just super strong. I made a video about this like over a month ago about how strong Barry is, and I'm very glad that it's kind of like paying off. Like everyone is seeing how strong Barry is. So I feel like I got a little bit of credit, like some street cred for that. But S tier for Barry, very well-rounded, good brawler. Then we got Shade. In the right hand, Shade is definitely good. So I'm going to put Shade at the bottom of B tier, but it feels like on most maps, Shade is just horrible. So bottom of B tier for me. The best way you play Shade is if you're facing like a Primo or a Daryl, someone who can't really fight back at you. You get your super off of that, and then you go and try and kill someone who can't kill you, like a Barley or a Penny or a Tick or just something like that with your speed and your obviously like walking through walls thing. If you're not facing a good matchup though, Shade is completely useless, and you have to get very close to get those hits, which versus a lot of brawlers doesn't really work out in your favor. So B tier for sure for Shade. And same thing for Meeple. I'm going to put Meeple right beside Shade. I think Meeple is a little bit better. Meeple can honestly, you know what? I'm going to give Meeple a little bit more respect. Meeple can be bottom of A tier, so I'm going to put Meeple top of B. I don't think Meeple is insane, but definitely got a lot better with the buff. She got a reload speed buff, so that's very, very, very good for Meeple because that was her biggest downfall. So B tier for Meeple. Decent brawler. Definitely better than last meta. Then we got Mortis. Mortis, A tier brawler, one of the best hypercharges in the game. If you have a free matchup with Mortis, if you're in draft and you're facing something that does not have a stun, unless it's heist, I don't care what, like, I just don't care what map it is. I don't care what mode it is. Just insta-lock the Mortis. Not on knockout, because knockout you die and you're cooked. But it's basically like you go in one life, you try and get 3, 4, 5 hits, you try and get your super. And then once you're 1 or 2 shots off your super, you're just unstoppable if you have good matchups. So if you see good matchups in a draft-based mode, specifically ranked, click the Mortis, insta-lock, and just get to team wiping. Like, it's insane. Next up, Tara. Tara's going to be B tier. Very similar to Mortis. If you have a good matchup, she can work. If not, she can't work. Very good in Brawl Ball, very good in Gem. That's about it, to be honest. Then we have Jean. Jean is a permanent resident in the S tier. Very good on knockout, very good on bounty, very good as a gem mid. That is about it, but he is a very, very, very good at those roles. Like the best in those maps. In competitive, Jean is like basically always a ban in bounty and knockout. Sometimes he's left open, but a lot of the times he is a ban. And then obviously we all know how good Jean is as a gem mid. So 100% S tier. And same thing with Max. Nothing has changed with Max. Like, Max and Jean are permanent residents of the top tiers just because they are so good at support, so good at their role. There is nothing wrong with these brawlers whatsoever, basically. So Just two good S tier brawlers. Max's Hypercharge, one of the best in the game. And honestly, guys, if you're playing Gene, the first gear you should buy is the Vision gear. I see way too many Genes without Vision gear, and at that point, it's like, why are you even picking the Gene? Like, Gene is good because of his pull, because of his heal, and because of his Vision gear. All three of them are as important as the other one. You can't play Gene without one of those things. You can't play Gene without a pull. You can't play Gene without heals, like no matter what Joker says. And you can't play Gene without Vision. So S tier for me. I love what I'm seeing out of Gene. Guys, Mr. P, S+ tier. Now, what I thought when I saw the Brawl Talk was just like Gray, Mr. P could have two porters down at the same time. Like two different spawnables. Mr. P is S+ tier without that. So if he got that, I could not even imagine the state of the game right now if that was in play. Thank God it isn't. But it basically seems like every single time you get a Mr. P Hypercharge porter, it's game over. You win unless it gets taken out, because those penguins just have so much HP and they're spawning so fast. They're taking absolutely all of the enemy's ammo to destroy, and it just leaves no ammo to kill you unless they just have the perfect comp to somehow deal with a Mr. P. So Mr. P is going to be S+ here. Honestly, I'm putting him ahead of the Stu. In this list, as of now, Mr. P is the best brawler in the game. Next up, Sprout. I'm going to give Sprout A tier. Sprout actually feels like he's a lot better right now in Knockout and Bounty than he used to be. I would say, along with Juju, Sprout is the best thrower in those modes. So A tier for me. I'm loving where Sprout is in the meta right now. Useless in every other mode, and then amazing in the two modes that Sprout owns. And that's what most brawlers should be. If they're not a well-rounded brawler like Belle, then they should have specialized modes, and I love to see that out of Sprout. So easy A tier for me. Byron, easy S tier for me. Very good into Barry, very good into Poco because of the fact that you can kind of ruin the heals with that star power. If you're facing something different like a Mr. P, you can go to Pierce, and then obviously you can heal a Byron, you can heal a Ash, you can heal a Frank. You have a lot more range than basically every brawler in the game, so there's a lot to like about Byron right now. Definitely an S tier brawler. Squeak, same thing, S tier, but maybe not for the reason you guys think. Squeaks, I don't know the exact name of the gadget. I think it's called Wind Up. I just call it Long Squeak. But the Long Squeak gadget has a 10 or 11 second cooldown, and it does 1,000 more damage. So basically, 12 times a game, you're just chucking these 3,000 Squeak shots across the map. And if half of them hit, you're just doing an absurd amount of damage. The Hypercharge isn't the best, but I like to play Squeak. A lot of people play Chain Reaction, which gives Squeak more damage. I really prefer the super sticky star power, because if you hit someone with your super, they're slowed, and then you can just auto-aim them down and chain your supers so fast. It's absolutely unreal. I love Squeak in this meta. Honestly, I always roast Squeak, and I always roast Squeak players, but I'm just a dirty, dirty Squeak player. I love playing Squeak, so definitely S tier for me. Then we have Lou. Lou was formerly S+ tier. He's going to go to the top of the S tier. He's still the best anti-tank in the game. One spot above Macy Spen, but he's going to be an S tier brawler for me. It's just a new meta now, and you guys can see Angelo, Brock, Stu, Mr. P, Barley are somewhat near the top of the meta. Same with Byron. A lot of more ranged brawlers, and that's not good for Lou. Lou does really well into brawlers that have the same or less range as him. And there are some games, honestly, where you might not get a Lou super if you pick Lou early. So, yeah, S tier for Lou. Still very good, but definitely fell off a little bit. Next, we got my boy Ruffs, and he is finally out of the slums. He's in the B tier now. Congratulations to my boy. His bags gadget, you can just spam that now. And into half the brawlers in the game, it either one shot or two shots each bag, which is either 3 or 6 for every bag, and you have unlimited gadgets now. So you just spam those bags, and Ruffs is very, very good. I highly recommend if you're playing draft and you're facing something like Macy or Jean or Stu, try picking Ruffs and see what happens. It's actually very effective right now. Next up, Buzz. Buzz is going to be B tier, but for different reasons. He's just insane. I know this is weird because he's kind of like an assassin, but Buzz these days is like an anti-tank in a way. You play the small circle Buzz, which gives you maximum stun time for the entire duration of your super, and anytime a Mortis, Daryl unless he's rolling, Ash unless he uses rats, or basically any tank goes in, you just stun them and you kill them and you chain supers and you do it again. The Hypercharge is obviously also really insane on Buzz. He's played a little bit different than he used to be, but that's just because there's so many good anti-tanks that have stuns or jumps or knockbacks in the game. You can't play Buzz really as like an assassin anymore. You have to just play him in this like other weird like anti-tank style, but I think he's actually pretty good at it. So B tier for me for the Buzz. Fang fell off, C tier, not a good assassin. Assassins just aren't the greatest anymore because every brawler just seems to have so much utility. But yeah, Fang's just not that good anymore unless it's bounty or maybe knockout. Eve fell off a tiny bit. I'm going to give Eve the top of A tier. Before, she was a S tier brawler for me. I think she just fell off a little bit because there's more range brawlers in the meta. But still, very good brawler. Easily A tier. Very good on basically any map that has water. Very good on knockout, bounty, some heist with water. But that's about it for the Eve. Next up, Janet. Janet's still going to be S tier. The hyper that Janet has is absurd. The fact that you have more gadgets now, this gadget change benefits Janet because you have unlimited of those turrets that just drop. So if you're playing Janet as like a gem grab mid now, you don't need to worry about running out of gadgets to block a gene pull. You don't have to worry about running out of gadgets and wasting them too early. Like, you're always going to have a gadget now with Janet, which is so crazy because it can be used for so many different things. And then the hyper is obviously insane. Janet's a very flexible brawler, so definitely S+ tier for me. I would just avoid playing Janet on knockout and bounty. And I guess obviously heist. But on hot zone, brawl ball, and gem grab, Janet could easily be a top 3 brawler on all of those modes. Next up, Otis. It feels like Otis got a little bit better with the gadget rework, so I'm going to put him at the top of the B tier. Honestly, there are a lot of good brawlers at the top of B tier. Meeple, Tara, Rosa, Carl, Otis, and Larry. Like, these brawlers are all very decent in the meta. Honestly, very decent is like the craziest 2 words to put one after another. But like I was saying, Otis is very good with his gadget change. You can kind of just spam that gadget. That's kind of like a little Barley shot. Very good area denial. And I think he's easily a B tier brawler. Next up, Buster. Guys, that Buster shield looked crazy, didn't it? That Buster shield looked nice. Unfortunately, it's not in the game yet. We are waiting for that Buster hyper. I've been waiting so long for that Buster hyper. I need it to come in the game. But B tier for now. Probably going to be A or S tier when the hyper comes out. Because the weird thing is, when you use a Buster shield, you have to be careful with where you're walking. And you kind of just move in this like awkward, slow way when you have the shield open that allows you to just kind of get cooked by anything around you. Now it's not like that. You pop the shield, you got this big 360 bubble around you, and you just walk in a straight line wherever you want to go. It's going to be very strong. Plus, having stat buffs with Buster is going to make Buster insane. Buster just has slightly less health, slightly less damage, and slightly less speed than he would to be insane. But when you have hyper, you have a little bit of a boost for all of that, and you guys are going to see how good Buster is going to become once he gets that. The fact that he also gets a passive hyper just by standing next to his teammates probably means he's going to get 2 a game. Honestly, Buster could be a S+ tier brawler very soon. We're going to have to find out, but I could see it happening. Next up, we have Gray. Gray is an S tier brawler for sure, and I mean like high S tier. You could use Gray in just about any single mode besides heist, but again, heist is all about damage, and Gray just doesn't have that. But yeah, Gray's teleport is insane. Gray's hypercharge is insane. The fact like you could have 2 different teleports on the map at the same time is probably not okay. I think they should probably change that to do what they did with Mr. P, where if you use the hyper, your regular teleport goes away. But as long as this is in the game, Gray is going to be S tier. Now, I will say people used to spam hooks at the start of games to get your super set up and all that. So the fact that you can't spam hooks right now is a little bit of a nerf to Gray when it comes to like Brawl Ball or Hot Zone. But in other modes where Gray is used, like Bounty and Knockout, it's honestly not even a nerf. It could even be a buff. So next we got RT. RT is going to be an A tier brawler, just very solid in Knockout and Bounty as a sniper. Also very good at the end of knockout games with those legs. And then because of those legs, RT is also good in other modes, specifically Hot Zone. So RT is just like very well-rounded. Kind of a skill brawler, to be honest. Not a lot of people are that good at RT, but if you are good at RT, you're getting the cooking, bro. So, I mean, A tier for now, but RT is pretty impressive. I'm not going to lie. Really well-rounded brawler. Next up, we have Willow. Willow is going to be bottom of B tier. I actually kind of like Willow as a thrower in Brawl Ball because it just stops the other team not from going aggressive, but you just need to hit 4 shots for your super, and then no one can really like get next to you, or you just auto aim your super and take them over. So I think that's actually pretty broken, honestly, but that's only in Brawl Ball. So you know what? I'm gonna move Willow down to C tier. because you can't really do that. Like, you can do that in other modes, but like Heist, Willow's useless. Hot Zone, Willow's kind of eh. It's kind of just like Gem Grab and Brawl Ball. So C tier for Willow. That's about all Willow's good for, to be honest. So I don't know. C tier for now, but next up, Doug. Doug's going to be D tier. Like, just don't let what happened to Hank happen to Doug, please. That's all I'm asking, Brawl Stars. Please, please, please. Then we have Chuck. Now everyone is slowly realizing Chuck isn't that good on Heist anymore. Like, yes, guys, I know. I don't mean Chuck is bad in Heist. Like, Chuck is good in Heist. People are finding out that you can go like Colt, for example, or Bull, for example, or Daryl, or Nita with a bear, or Barley, or Colette, or Buzz, or Dina, or Edgar even. And just ignore the Chuck when the Chuck is setting up and going on your safe and just beating him to beating their safe. Like, Chuck is useless in the actual game. Like, he's good for rushing down the middle and doing damage, but if you just ignore it and you just pretend it's a 3v2, that's how pros beat Chuck. That's why Chuck isn't banned in pro play. Chuck is going to be C tier 100%. He's still good in Heist, don't get me wrong. He's probably going to be good on ladder and trophies and stuff like that forever in Heist, but he is beatable, and I just want that to be known. Next up, Charlie. Charlie's going to be D tier, like top of D tier, but D tier. Charlie is one of the few brawlers in the D tier with BB that has a hyper and still just sucks. At least the other 3 brawlers don't have a hyper. So Charlie is a hyper, sucks, definitely needs a buff. Miko C tier, kind of a decent assassin on the same level as Edgar, I would say, but he does destroy the safe crazy fast. So C tier for sure. Then we got Melody. Melody's going to be in the S tier. If you guys watch monthly finals, you probably saw the amount of Melody spam that was happening. Just a very high skill brawler. Obviously, like the queen of Heist, probably the best brawler in Heist right now, but can be used in Brawl Ball, Gem Grab, and Hot Zone, even Bounty on some maps. Melody is good because she can obviously take out snipers really well. So definitely S tier for Melody. She's a very good brawler at the moment. Lily fell off. Lily low-key came up for like a week and then fell off again because her gadget takes a grand total of 22 seconds to get back. Lily's only really good when you're like spamming those gadgets, so you just can't do that anymore. So Lily definitely fell off. Poor Lily. Just became good and is bad again. Then we got the Crab. Crab is going to be bottom of C tier. More people have been playing Crab as of late, but still, like, it's just not a good brawler. Definitely not that great. Decent as an anti-tank, but there are way better options like you're going to see on this list and by the end of this list. Mo, actually kind of decent. Bottom of B tier, feels like the exact same as Shade, where you can make Mo work into decent matchups. When you use your super and you go into that drill mode, you should be able to kill the first person you're going for every time. If you don't, you're just bad at Mo and you're messing up your super. So just because of that alone, the fact that Mo kind of has an unstoppable super, we're going to put him in the B tier. Besides that, I don't really love Mo, and he's not really that great. The shot speed isn't great. The damage isn't great. So we're going to put him in the B tier, but very low B tier. Then we got Juju. Juju got a little bit of a nerf, but still the best thrower in the game. Still a S+ tier brawler. Her gadget is just too good. The fact that you can go invisible and sneak up on people. The fact that you can go fast over water. The fact that you have a crazy shield. Like, the gadget is very, very, very strong on Juju still. And the cooldown isn't even all that much. It's 17 seconds. It should definitely be way higher because it's the best part about Juju. The bot's obviously still annoying. The star powers are both good because it helps out the bot a lot. And I just think Juju's a very well-rounded thrower. Ollie, guys, is also S+ tier. I bet some of you weren't expecting that. But Ollie, the fact that you can now super and then jump, the fact that you can shoot while using your super, Ollie, I know this sounds crazy, is an S+ tier brawler. Ollie is the best tank in Bounty, definitely the best tank in Knockout, the best tank with Ash in Brawl Ball, and is just insane basically anywhere but Heist. I know this might sound really crazy to you guys. I might make a video just dedicated to Ollie after this change because of what happened. But like 100% S+ tier, guys. I promise you. And I can't wait to see Spen's tier list because I want to see where Spen puts all these brawlers and just kind of compare his to mine. But 100% an S+ tier brawler. Guys, Buzz Light is at the bottom of my list, and it just reminded me of the fact that Buzz Light isn't in the game, and just thank God Buzz Light isn't in the game. That's all I want to say. Spike, C tier. just isn't that good right now. Not a good anti-tank compared to all the other options. Don't have the greatest things to say about Spike. Definitely needs a buff. Crow, I'm going to put him in the B tier. Actually a good anti-tank because of his range, and then obviously unlike Spike, who actually can do crazy amounts to the safe in Heist, it just never really happens. Crow's hyper is just insane. You all know it. I say it every single tier list, and I'm gonna say it again. Like, it does 40% to a safe. It's absolutely insane, and Crow's a good anti-tank, so definitely B tier for me. Leon is gonna go into the C tier. I should have said sneak into the C tier because he goes invisible, but he's just not that good right now. Needs a tiny bit of a buff. I'm gonna put him at the top of the C tier. He could even be bottom of, you know what? Fine. I'll put him bottom of B tier. He's not actually C tier level. He's bottom of B tier, but like definitely the bottom. Like everyone in the B tier, I think is used more besides maybe Mo than Leon in scrims, in competitive play, and on trophies. And Leon's okay. Definitely has his moments, but definitely just, you know, a low B tier brawler for me. Sandy, putting Sandy beside the Max and the Gene, just a permanent resident of the S tier. Just the stuns and the supers, the hyper, just what Sandy has is just too good. And it's, I don't know, definitely an S tier brawler and is not moving from the S tier. Next up, Amber. Amber actually fell off a little bit, so I'm going to put Amber in the S tier, not an S plus tier brawler. But you guys just know the second that hypercharge comes out, I don't even care what it is. Like, it could literally be nothing. And I'm putting her in the S plus tier. You guys know how I feel about Amber. The only downside to Amber is the Poco gadget that I was telling you guys about, and the fact that Amber doesn't have a stun or like a dash or some way to avoid a Mortis or Edgar from jumping on her face. Next up, we have Meg. Meg C tier. Not the greatest brawler right now. Needs a little bit of a buff. I don't think she's horrible, but she's like not really that good in any situation. Surge obviously is going to go into the A tier, one of the best anti-tanks in the game. The jump is really good. Both gadgets are really good. It kind of just depends on your matchup and what you want to play into. The hyper feels like it fell off. Does anyone else feel this? Is it just me and my teammates and basically every other pro that I've talked to? It just feels like it doesn't absolutely destroy people anymore after the update, even though I don't think they actually changed anything about it. So just let me know what you guys think about that, because that's just like a weird one for me. Then we got Chester. Chester is going to be C tier, just not that great as an anti-tank. Again, there's just a bunch of other good options that are way better. Cord is going to go in the bottom of my A tier. There's actually not a lot of A tier brawlers, which is pretty interesting actually looking at this. But you guys all know that Cord just absolutely destroys basically any tank, unless it's a tank that counters in the realm like Frank or Fish. But besides that, Cord is like probably the best anti-tank into like a Primo or a Bull or anything like that, because you go into the dimension, you're not feeding super or hyper that they get from getting hit. They're not getting anything from getting their hits in there. And it's just, there's no way they can win in that dimension unless you just absolutely reek at Cord. So definitely A tier. Kitty Cat is going to be the top of the B tier. You can definitely make him work, especially in knockout or bounty, but he's also usable in other modes. Draco fell off. Draco got the biggest fall off in the gadget update for sure. I'm going to put him in the B tier. He could potentially be worse than that, to be honest. 22 seconds for his gadget is just, it's not way too high. It's right because he has one of the craziest gadgets in the game. It's just if you can't spam those gadgets, Draco really isn't that good and isn't really creating that much space. So 100% B tier for now. And then finally, Kenji feels like he got a little bit worse, but I'm going to give him the respect and keep him in the A tier because Kenji is still a very, very good brawler. And that's going to be it for my tier list. So I hope you guys enjoyed. This is basically a completely different tier list than what we're used to. Obviously, some brawlers stayed the same. We're still subject to change on a lot of things. I'm definitely going to make one again in about a month. But a lot of brawlers changed positions drastically. So keep all that in mind. But that's going to be it for me today. I would love to know your thoughts on it in the comments below. And just everything that you guys think is misplaced. Something that you guys don't think I'm seeing. Something that you guys think I'm overhyping. Just literally anything. I want to know what you guys think. So put it in the comment section below. But that's going to be it for me today. And I'll see you guys later.